All right, agenda item 14 is a request for authorization to publish notice of intent to amend bobcat trapping regulations. As you remember, the WRC worked on this, and at your October meeting you got the WRC's recommendation, which was supportive of the department's solution. And here we will have Craig Merritts of the department give an overview of that proposal for your consideration.
Thank you, Sonky. President Sutton, Commissioners, Director Baum, I'm Craig Merritts with the Department's Regulations Unit, and I'm here to present the Department's proposal to implement the Bobcat Protection Act. Okay. So Assembly Bill 1213 was signed by the Governor in October of last year, became effective in January, and it amended Fish and Game Code Section 4155. As amended, Section 4155 now prohibits bobcat trapping adjacent to Joshua Tree National Park, and it requires the Commission, with its next regularly scheduled mammal and trapping rulemaking cycle, to adopt regulations prohibiting bobcat trapping adjacent to protected areas, which include state and national parks, national monuments, and wildlife refuges. The law further goes on to specify that the Commission needs to use readily identifiable features, including highways, major roads, in identifying those closure boundaries. Okay, and this is one of the ambiguities, I think, in the statutory language is what constitutes a readily identifiable feature. And I think we'll hear, after I'm done, we'll hear that there's a different take on that out there. So, and it goes on in 2016 to require the Commission to consider additional closures adjacent to other conservation lands, including private wildlife preserves, if they're brought to the Commission by the public. Okay. And finally, requires regulations to set trapping and tag fees, shipping tag fees, to fully recover the costs of the program. That the law requires closure boundaries around state parks, national monuments, and wildlife refuges. Now, the map on the left shows those properties in magenta, and you can see that they're scattered up and down the state, pretty throughout. Statewide, there are over 280 properties that we'd need to designate closure zones around under the statute. The map on the left shows the distribution of bobcat trapping over the past decade in California, from 2002 to 2013. So we look at the distribution of bobcat harvest by trapping. We can see that it's not uniform statewide. In fact, the gray areas on the map are actually areas where, in the last decade, no bobcat have been harvested by trapping and reported to the department. But it ranges on up from relatively few, from 0 to 25 in that 10-year period, all the way up to the dark orange areas on the map that are upwards of 500 to 1,500 animals trapped. So looking coarsely at the map, you can see that there is high harvest in the northern part of the state, and there's high harvest in the southern part of the state, with kind of a gap in the middle with relatively low trapping rates from, say, Monterey County on the south to Sonoma County on the north. So to better focus the implementation of these regulations, we're thinking about trying to apply the regulations where the bobcat harvest actually occurs.
Okay, Randall Massaro, union members for the Preservation of Wildlife, United States Representative. Once more, you already know my feeling about Fish and Game. I'm very hard on you, but I know many of you come from hunting families and cattle ranching families, and I know many of you feel that it's not only a privilege, but your right to go ahead and hunt. Keep in mind that these animals are living animals. They eat, they breathe, they sleep, they feel pain. And if you can take a look at the film that we're showing you now, this is footage that we've obtained through our investigators, through Teamsters unions and our unions from throughout the United States. Since I'm a United States representative organizer for Teamsters, simple fact is this: it's ecotourism versus hunting. How much money is it? Like I told you about Vancouver, Canada, $3 million for hunting, $75 million for ecotourism. Add up the numbers, add up the facts and figures. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. We look at the fact that these animals also eat the rodents that keep us healthy. So we're going to kill coyotes. We're going to kill the very animals that stop us from getting rabies, plague, typhus fever, hantavirus. A few people died in Long Beach this year because of typhus fever. Hantavirus broke out in Yosemite. And these are the very animals that protect us. Is that loyalty? Look what we're doing to the wild horses, $100 million a year to wipe them out, make it zero population. What I'm trying to say is add up the money that goes to animal control. Add up the money that you get. Add up the money that these independent trappers get. Now there's poachers. Now there's regular sport hunters. You're not poachers, but you're sport hunters. You hunt for fun, sport, and some people hunt for profit. If everybody were gunning for you, really quick, since I've got 23 seconds, on behalf of the Native Americans, there's 564 nations in this nation. Many of the Native American tribes hold these animals sacred, just like Christians hold the Bible, Muslims hold the Quran, Jews the menorah, and we Americans hold the flag. On behalf of American Indians, they advise you, they ask you, please, no more killing, no more trapping of their sacred animals. You want respect for the flag? They want respect. Please don't kill these animals. Thank you.
Next speaker. Go ahead.
By the way, I wanted to tell you that Bobcat photo that you put up in the very beginning of your presentation was absolutely gorgeous. I've never seen a bobcat in the wild, and I can't wait to see one in the wild someday. I'm Fauna Tomlinson from Lake Tahoe. I support implementing AB 1213 ASAP. We have zero idea how many bobcats live in California. It's not even a close estimate. We're going off of something from 1970 that was a guesstimate at that time. China has a new craze for bobcat slippers. The whiter the underbelly, the more coveted it is. Our California bobcats are famous, unfortunately, for their soft underbellies. This fact makes me absolutely sad, and it breaks my heart. Our beautiful, eco-balanced, wildlife viewing, income-bringing bobcats are being killed by a handful of Californians for people in China to wear on their feet. There has been unlimited bobcat trapping, and it's time to stop. Bobcats are definitely worth more alive than dead. Let compassion be your fashion. It's a crime against nature and a crime against California taxpayers. I had no idea that this was subsidized by California taxpayers. It's not a business that runs. It runs in the red, and it's time that it stops. These are beautiful animals, and they really don't deserve this. So please ban bobcat trapping, or do whatever you can to implement it as soon as possible, so these guys can help keep our rodent control down. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Matthew Duncan. First bobcat I ever saw, I was about 9 years old. I was in the town of Bishop in the Owens Valley, and I was with my family. We stopped, and a guy drove up in a truck, and he had a dead bobcat in the bed of his truck, and he pulled it out and was posing with his friend with pictures, and I remember how I was just seething. I was so angry. But I was a kid, I wasn't going to say anything. So let's fast forward to today, 2014, and I go online and I see a website run by a local bobcat trapper, and he's got pictures of him posing just like that dude up in Bishop a long time ago. Big smile on his face with these beautiful dead animals that he trapped. You know, one picture he had was what appeared to be about 100 pelts, and he was very proud of those pelts as he posed. If I further have become rubbed the wrong way when I hear that these pelts are sold to China, there's something about the word fur and the word China being used in the same sentence that just rubs me really the wrong way. So obviously, as you can guess, I support a statewide ban on coyote trapping. Thank you.
I don't know. Excuse me, AGP, do not run any more videos unless the presiding commissioner approves them. So no more videos, all right? Those who are, just so you know, you don't present video to the commission unless it's been approved. Just so you know. Go ahead.
Hello, commissioners, Hello, commissioners, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I am here with union members for the preservation of wildlife. My name is Caitlin White. And ladies and gentlemen, what you saw before you was the reality of trapping and hunting. It is not beautiful, it is not glamorous. And I want you to think about this for a minute. Many of our wildlife raise their families, much like you and I do. Now imagine for a moment trying to go to the grocery store and not making it home to provide for your kids. It is essentially the same thing that you're doing to these animals. When you trap and hunt these animals, you are removing a provider. And those children are they're pretty much sentenced to die. Having opposable thumbs and the ability to pull a trigger does not make us superior. It has been made clear that hunting has become wasteful and done for sport. This is no longer necessary considering the fact that society has evolved, that we now have easy access to all the comforts and amenities we need. I don't understand how anybody can sleep well at night knowing that they do this. It is not the ability to kill something that walks on four legs instead of two that makes us better. Compassion and understanding is what makes us human. Thank you. That's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia McPherson. I'm president of Grassroots Coalition. I am appalled at what I have also learned today. I am not here for this item, but I certainly support all those that have spoken here today, except for the trapper that spoke. I would support a ban. I support the implementation, but I would wish that you would go beyond that for a full ban. And I would wish that the videotape be played while I speak. Your reaction to the playing of the videotape I find very telling. If we can't even look at a videotape, why are we allowing this to continue? My experience with trapping, contrary to what you saw up there, was a bobcat that went to zero, as I find with a lot of animals that are scared to death, and was able to release that bobcat. That was just off a trail. I've released dogs out of these traps. This is appalling that this continues. I think people are changing. The attitudes are changing. Obviously, the less than 1% that you heard about, that's common knowledge. This needs to stop. We need to be better than this. I am appalled at what I've learned today. Please think about what you've heard. You have a role that can do something here. Please take that high road. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
That concludes the speakers.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your comments. This is an issue that was referred to the Wildlife Resources Committee of the Commission, co-chaired by Commissioners Bayless and Kellogg. I wanted to give them an opportunity to say anything they would like to say about this before we discuss it further. Specifically, I'm interested, I know the committee discussed this at some length. We've heard a number of suggestions today that the commission completely ban bobcat trapping. The legislature, of course, stopped short of that, but authorized us to consider it. and yet it's not in what we're proposing to go to notice to today. And I wondered if you talked about that at the committee level. Commissioner Rogers.
Chuck, you made a comment a little bit earlier in this discussion that from your perspective in the reading of the bill authorizes the commission to enact a total ban statewide, correct?
No, I didn't say that. You've heard that from the audience, and I think that would...
What is the department's opinion with respect to the legalities of the bill? Does it authorize the commission to enact a ban, statewide?
Well, I will tell you that in my personal opinion, I'm not your lawyer, I think 4155 sub F is framed in the negative, and it says nothing in this section limits the ability of the department or commission to impose additional requirements, ... including a complete prohibition. So it's styled as a as not limiting your ability. It's not framed in the affirmative.
Okay. Another question then. Do you believe that if we were to go to notice on this, that we could today include an alternative to be added to your notice for a total statewide ban?
Commissioner Rogers, that's your decision at the commission.
I know it's our decision.
You've already had agenda items today where you've amended the notice that we put in front of you to include options.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. Other thoughts on what we've heard today?
All right.
Yes, I would like to address my fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Rogers.
I would like to add that alternative, because we're not making a decision as to whether or not we're going to do that today, but I would like to add that alternative for a host of reasons.
Right.
To me, the legislature handed the department a very expensive and difficult thing to do without, frankly, having the guts to finish the job. And I believe that the smartest thing for this commission to do is to include a total statewide ban as an alternative. And if that's where we end up going with this thing, because it will unfold that this is an extraordinarily difficult and complex process to come up with this thing, I have a sneaking suspicion that this commission will go for a statewide ban.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quiet, please. We got business. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. You seem to have a certain amount of support in the room.
Well, I'll tell you, President Sutton, I have a bobcat in my backyard, and he wanders back and forth, or she, I don't know. Never let me get close enough, which is kind of the story of my life. So I don't really know. But wanders back and forth. I personally spent a half hour with that bobcat. Oddly. About 100 feet away, but a half hour.
I think that bobcat is probably there not because it's your property, but because you have a lot of rabbits on your property, too. Commissioner Bayless, you had some thoughts on this issue?
I think Commissioner Rogers summed up at least the will of our audience today, and it's been a healthy invitation that you all have taken. The non-consumptive users, I would encourage you all to continue to participate, especially in the positive vein. Sometimes there was a little supercilious or condescending attitude towards hunters, and I don't think that's a good path to take. I think moving forward, we need to respect all views and move forward in a respectful and measured fashion. So, but I applaud Commissioner Rogers for adding that and support that.
Thank you, Commissioner
If
Bayless.
If I may, Commissioner Bayless, thank you for saying that, because we all of us in this room, there is a tyranny of the majority. You have to be very careful about that. There are people who think differently than you. they're consumptive in what they want to do in certain areas and you aren't, or you're consumptive in certain areas and they're not. So I don't think it's fair to brand people as being good or bad or evil or not somebody you want around. It's just not fair. But I think issues like this are impassioned issues. And I frankly come away from this hearing quite impassioned.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. Well said. I also support your proposed amendment because, for one thing, our typical practice is to, when we go to notice on an issue, we include the entire range of options available to us without prejudice about what we would choose later on. And so this is certainly, in this case, it's something I believe that we ought to include as well. So, Sonky, can you read that motion with that in mind? Unless, Jim, did you want to, Commissioner Kellogg?
You prefer me not to, huh?
Go ahead.
I think we're starting to rush things a little. That's a big move. That's a huge move. You're talking about less than 1% of the people doing the trapping. You got less than 1% of the people talking about banning bobcats altogether too. We got to be able to have time, and this should be an issue that we discuss at the WRC and give all the people in the state of California opportunity to voice their opinion on something like that. And I don't think this commission needs to supersede the legislature and start adding to their legislation ahead of time. We can take this bite of the apple at a time and not be jumping to conclusions.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellogg. I will remind everyone, this is the notice hearing. This is the beginning of this process at the full commission. One of the reasons I asked for input from the committee chairs earlier is surely this came up at the committee, and I wasn't there. I don't know what the rationale was that it wasn't included on recommendation of the committee, but we have a proposed motion with an amendment from Commissioner Rogers. Sonky, it might be helpful if you just read that and see if anybody wants to make it.
Sure. The Commission authorized publication of a notice of its intent to amend Section 478, Title 14, based on the proposed regulatory motion by proposed regulations by the department, with the addition of a bobcat prohibition, trapping prohibition.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Rogers.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bayless. Would you read take a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bayless?
Aye.
Commissioner Kellogg?
No.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hostler-Carmison?
No.
Commissioner Sutton?
Aye.
Motion passes.